So I got let off by my work today, and it's been a whirlwind of emotions. I mean, it's currently, what is it, like 9 o'clock, 9 p.m., and I went straight out after work. So, which is why I'm feeling like in very good spirits because I've been around great people. But yeah, I mean, I say whirlwind of emotions. I've been feeling very neutral, and I feel like I feel like it was a long time coming. And there's a part of me that just feels there's a part of me that just feels a sigh of relief. And to be honest, like I haven't completely processed it all properly, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to record this. Um, it's Wednesday, the 17th of September, and and it's so wild because I feel like I've personally been coming to peace around where I stand with it. Like I knew this probation was coming up, and I knew in my gut like it was just coming to an end from either side. Like whether it was from my work saying they were going to let me go, or I was going to walk away. I don't know why I was still feeling that inner conflict because like every being inside of me was like it's time to move on, to move forward, to let go. But it's like again, it's you know stepping into the unknown again, and and I think we always want like a clear cut safety blanket, like we know what to expect, and it's not like I'm rushing in into a new job. And to be honest, I don't really want to find another job. Like I want to break out of this cycle. I don't want to work for someone else. I really want to build my own thing. And it's so wild in terms of its timing of like how I've been like so it's literally been on the forefront of my mind that like I need to get serious about the trajectory of my life. And like, obviously starting with these recordings of like getting really serious about, you know, to get my life off the ground. Is that the right way to say it? Like to really build the foundational work, groundwork, and it's like we don't even know what we wish for. And I knew like sometimes you have to literally rip the band-aid off, but and I know I kept saying out loud like it's time to start taking big risks, start to be more bold in my decision making, go for my dreams, make things happen, and and as well as that, we need to let go, whether that's shedding the old identity of like who we once, you know, who we once imagined and visioned of ourselves as that certain person before. And it's so wild. Like as I'm talking, I'm just kind of it's all kind of coming together. Like even the book that I'm reading, and it's crazy how fast things happen. Like it literally talks about self identity and like shedding the old and to like call in into the reality that we want. I literally went into this meeting and I didn't know which way it would take me. I think, naturally, innately, we all want to feel a sense of belonging, to feel wanted, a part of something. We don't want to be ostracized out of a community, out of a place. And, you get comfortable. And I always saw this as like temporary and it was always meant to be. But it was nice to feel, included, to be yourself, especially like for me, this is my first corporate job where I could be myself. And I thought, yeah, this is nice. And I think, the entrepreneurial path was quite triggering at times because there's no stability, there's no like safety blanket. It's just literally you, all on you. And especially when you're starting out, it's like it's all very new and alien and there's so many factors to it and you're doing it all by yourself. And I was like, whether it's an excuse, a distraction, I was like, okay, whilst I'm building this, I need, a part-time job at least where I can like, still, earn a living, and then build on the side. But alongside that, I it came at the expense of dimming my own light and forgetting my mission, my why, who I was, what I lost that connection with myself basically. And it's funny, since I'm now reconnecting with myself, this is what's happened. And, we try to delay the how do you say the word? Inevitable. It's always coming. And regardless, like, I'm truly grateful for my time, because it was a time where, yeah, I could start to build my own life again and have that stable foundation, as you could say, and live my own life and invest into myself and go on little travels and trips and work out and, train for my half marathon, explore, have the, the means to go and do nice things with my friends and nurture the relationships, and just have that safe, easy job where you didn't feel that heaviness of responsibility. But, there's always a but. When things start to get toxic, I think I think when you start to dim your light and you start to abandon yourself, where in normal settings you would easily walk away, be like, I'm not tolerating that. I don't need that. Like, I think when you chip away, is it your self-esteem over time, you don't realize the impact until later on in your life, and then you zoom out like, whoa, how do we get here? Why am I doing this? Where am I? And what am I doing all this for? You get into this rut of like day in, day out, and it's like you're not happy, but also it's like you just feel more comfortable in what you know, even if it's not necessarily good for you. And and I think in terms of my self-development, I've come a long way. Like, I use empowering principles in areas of, like, for example, dating. And, I've learned my lesson big time, um, with my ex, of what I will tolerate and what not necessarily I would tolerate, but what I won't tolerate and what I deserve. And, you raise your standards. But I think when it comes to your job, your income, your business, like, sorry, not business, but like, I think with a job, you tolerate a lot more when it's to do with when income's involved. I don't know why. I don't know why. And I think this was the lesson I had to go through, because, you know, I kind of was trying to delude myself. Delude? Is that a correct way of saying it? That, like, you know, I was trying to go into, like, split half of, like, trying to be this entrepreneurial go getter woman, but also having the mindset of an employee. And the two clash with each other. And at some point, you've got to take a side. And I think with an employee mindset is like, you kind of like, I found myself saying yes to things I didn't want to, or I just felt like my role, like, I wasn't living up to my potential. And I don't know, I, it's like I'm trying to it's like you're looking for your boss, for the people around you, to see the value in you. And when they do see it, you like, it's something within you lights up. And it's weird, like, you shouldn't be seeking validation externally, but I guess I'm trying to understand the mindset of it. And with being entrepreneurial, going on the entrepreneur mindset is literally like, you have to self-validate yourself, and you get that instant feedback when things are not working and you're not seeing the results. But yeah, it's like the same principles that I would apply to dating, it's applies just here as well. Like, I found myself, like, I knew that the role that I had taken on, I had outgrown it years ago. And then I shared it in my previous video. Like, after going to Mexico and embarking on this beautiful journey of like, discovering myself in so many ways and pursuing my passions and having the courage to make it happen and really, really put everything into it and see that version of you that you've always dreamed of. And I felt like at the peak of my, at the height of my like fullest self, most abundant self. And then I came back to the UK and I felt like I had to shrink. I don't know if I had to, like everything's a choice. But then again, it's like maybe this book is what they're trying to tell me. It's like it's the identity, you always kind of revert to the identity that you associate yourself with. And it's like I felt like I had to prove my value. I had to show, I've got to show it to people. And actually like, you know, no matter what, I think what I took away from this meeting is like no matter what you do, if someone doesn't see your value, doesn't see, doesn't want you around, doesn't, they're always going to find a reason to show you that you're not enough. And I don't mean it in like a very like, that sounds very melodramatic. Like literally it got to a point where they were kind of going through like, okay, these are the reasons why your probation's get extended, or these are the reasons from the last catch up, and what's the progress, what have we seen since then, da, da, da. And at first I felt like this time around I felt like I wanted to chime in and be like, just like our principle to stand up for yourself. And then when they came up with the example of like, oh, why did I not inform them on the day that, you know, on the day that there was a tube strike, so why I didn't go into the office? And I was like, are you serious? Like I literally genuinely fought those tube strikes all week. And as soon as I knew, I made sure I went in. And like, you're going to pinpoint the most recent example, which was out of my control. And as soon as I knew about it, like I went in. Okay. They get the flexibility of working, you know, of being remote here and there, etc. And, and they came up with some other examples. And it's like, regardless of how well you do in other scenarios, it will just be that one thing that they're going to hold on to. And I get it, because when you're on probation you're going to be scrutinized for a lot more or whatever. And then I think what set me off was like when they brought up something about the milk, and then I think it's one of those light bulb moments which I had for a long time before even leading up to this point. I know it's coming to an end. It's like, in the grand scheme of things, like this ain't deep. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to be spending my precious energy arguing over like the most minuscule things in the grand scheme of things. Like I get it, you're there to, you're employed to provide a service to the best of your ability and da da da. And you know what, like in all fairness, and I said this in the meeting, like they deserve someone to come show up, and give their best and be their fullest self and whatever. But when you shrink yourself into a role and you don't feel like it's you feel like there's so much of you to give, regardless, like I'm not gonna show up my best, and no one's gonna get the best out of me, and I'm just gonna be. I literally ended up feeling like I was a shell of myself, um, and yeah, like I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel my bouncy go getter self. And how can I bring, like, if this is half of me spent here in this role, feeling limited, feeling like confined, feeling icky, towards my own self. And I know that's just a projection in my own mind. How can I bring that energy into my business when I'm the one meant to be leading? And, you know, I don't know, I found it very difficult to shift between the two. And obviously you do your best, but you're always giving, like even in my business, like I realize like I'm not on fire. Like you're not, like, my brand is meant to be about being your authentic self, about being your truest self. And I'm just like, it just feels so performative. And I'm literally going off a tangent. Like I'm processing this all whilst I speak and share. This is so raw, and I was thinking, should I wait until when it's literally my last actual day and I give everything in and I've got some time to really marinate in it. But I thought, let me just share and make sense of it. But yeah, back to the meeting, initially, when it got extended, when my probation got extended, I was hurt. I was sad. I was actually quite blindsided of like, how, what do you mean? And there was that inner turmoil to like prove like, no, it's not the case. And I was really making sure I completed all the tasks that was expected of me, did what was told. But then that, when it's not your purpose, your calling, like that slowly dims out. And I could just hear background noise, but yeah. And I think like when you just know that they're just looking for something, a reason. Sorry, I went to go and ask my parents to lower the volume, but what was I saying? I think when you're deep, you got time to really process it, and you start to like deep the situation. And you're like, I knew without my mind clocking on before ahead of time. Like I knew like I wasn't necessarily wanted there. Like I don't know. You just feel like you're being tolerated, and I just knew it was coming to an end, and whatever was gonna happen, it was just finding some reasons to collect the information to be like, this is not good enough. And sure, like, yeah, sure, I can take accountability and be like, maybe I didn't do my best. And to be honest, like, it's hard to show up doing your best when you're not feeling passionate about what you're doing, because it's nothing groundbreaking. And I did my best in the sense of like communicating, what my needs are, and that never was reciprocated. So then you get to a point with like, if you're in a place where they're not prioritizing you, they're not showing you with action that you're valued, and it's all just words, then it's time to keep going, because the relationship that you have with yourself is more important than anything else. And I think the more I was working on myself internally, mentally, emotionally, the more being it was being evident that this was the case. And yeah, I feel like I'm going from one thing to another, but I'm just free flowing. But yeah, literally in the meeting, it got to a point where they were kind of like, they're just telling me, is this reason, X, A, B, C, da, da, da. And, they were checking with me, like, what do you think? Do you agree? And I was just like, what, at this point, I literally said it out loud, I was like, I know where this is leading. And, I just feel like it's always going to be some reason as to like, that I'm not doing something right. So I'm just going to just let you guys say what you have to say. And I didn't fight for it. I didn't argue for it. And I just allowed it to be. I literally completely surrendered in that moment, as I had done before. And I think like normally I would be overthinking. Like even today, I woke up, even the night before, I would be overthinking the situation. Like, okay, well, how do I need to go? I need to prepare and this and that. I just was like, whatever's meant to be will be. Let God lead in this situation. Like I don't need to have the right script. I don't need to come back with like da da da. And in the moment, obviously, I wanted to kick in and go into overdrive and protect and argue and be combative. I was just like, hear people out, let them show the situation, which I should have allowed that to happen way back when, with their action, you know, before, straight away, back when I was temping and I wanted to go permanent. Like with words, it was one thing, but the action showed different. I got lower pay. I even the way it was dealt with, you know, with the situation, and I should have clocked into all of this way back. But at the time, like, it takes two to tango, and I could be like, I wasn't all in it, like I was obviously there with my own intentions and self goals. Um, but that's why I said in the meeting, like, it's not fair. Like, you know, you have to do what's right for the business, for your team, for the people around you, and like they literally said you're not the same happy person as when you first joined. And I think sometimes with jobs we've kind of, I don't know, normalized like you have to have some level of suffering. Like there is a level of tolerance that you have to have, and you just gotta like suck it up and do your job and get paid and go home. And you know, with a job you don't normally always love what you do. But I just got to a point where no, like it's so costly to your soul, to your sanity, to your mental health, to your self-esteem, to your energy. Like when I deeped the effects, I was in this vicious cycle. Like I can't wait to actually upload the previous videos of like me saying I'm tired of going, you know, back and forth from feeling high and like, you know, working on myself and then going back into the environment and then feeling like your energy is draining. And, you know, it's not necessarily anything personal. It's more about like when you're in the wrong environment and you feel like your energy, like your something's draining your energy, like that's not right. Like that's something to look within and be like, something's not adding up. But I think when you have not experienced anything different, I think in the UK, like I've always worked a job. If I've worked a job, it's always doing something I've never enjoyed. I was there just to make an income and then so I can support my own living. But in the past, you know, I would numb it down with alcohol, with so and so. Like you don't, it doesn't affect you as much, or it doesn't show. But then this time around, you know, I've always tried to distract myself with work or going out, you know, etc., etc. But I think what was an eye opener for me is like since I've joined here, my sugar intake has gone through the roof. And obviously it's because like whether I'm numbing myself or distracting or like trying to, you know, make myself feel better. But that was a coping mechanism. I knew it. Like obviously I'm aware. So yeah, I'm sharing all this in details because like it's good it's good for it to be highlighted of what should be red flags and what should raise alarms in us. But when you've deluded yourself or gone along for so long, it sometimes gets so blurry. And I've definitely been in a situation where I've googled like when is the right time to quit or when is the right, you know, you research into things like this. You should be in a place where it's a joy and genuinely like the role itself fulfills you and you light up and you expand. And like yeah, of course, you know, things can get tiring, but I genuinely believe like if you love what you do, you enjoy what you do, time doesn't matter. And I think in my situation of where I'm at, like, you know, it was always leading to this point, and I'm ready to go all in. I'm ready to bet on myself, and I'm looking at myself like, are you? No, I am. And there's a sense of like, there's no way I'm getting another job. There's no way. There's no plan B. Like, if I have to make some sacrifices to really get this off the ground, so be it. Because I just can't. Like, I can't work for someone else. It literally makes me feel like I'm dying inside. But you know what? Working, doing something that I don't enjoy, something that I'm not aligned with, like, life is genuinely that short, and you're gonna spend it like, I just can't. Yeah, I think you get to a point where you do so many things that, yeah, you realize like, yeah, you can't keep repeating the same thing, regardless of in what area of life. And I will make it happen. It is going to happen. And it's a matter of taking that leap of faith, having that self belief, and regardless if it gets hard or difficult, it's pushing through it. Because what's plan B? And I definitely believe like I had to go through this experience to realize, you know, am I just going to continue my life doing this? And what does that look like for me? And I don't want to do things that I can't do something that doesn't make me feel like my best. And I feel like I'm selling my soul or shrinking myself or, yeah. And I don't want to live in halves. And the worst thing I ever did was thinking I had to be realistic. I had to play it safe. This is it. I just know it in my being. Like, there's no going back. I tried. This is my first permanent job in like after how many years? And I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I had this time and to work in an environment where I was semi what myself to a point. And I was able to like build a solid foundation within me. I think after the breakup, I think after moving back to UK, moving back to London, after the breakup and readjusting my whole life, moving back to my parents' home, my focus priority was to rebuild a solid foundation. And I'm at the point where I've been able to, and I feel secure. Like I feel at a good place. And I was literally sharing that with some friends after work, and I'm actually really grateful I had that. My plan was always to go out, and they were literally shocked. Like, what? Like, I literally had to mention it. Like, this is what's happened because nothing was given away. Like, I was literally in such good spirits. But like I was telling them, like I feel for the first time ever, like I feel very neutral. You know, yes, I felt that's relief. Like I could, you know, like something was like losing its grip on me, but I didn't have that like, oh, I feel like sometimes when you quit something or you leave or something like dramatic happens and you just feel like, fuck them, da da da. Like I just felt, I was just very neutral about the situation, very at peace, literally. And I just, you just have that deep knowing that everything's going to be fine. That it's going to be, you're going to be okay. This is all going to work out. Yeah. God, I don't even know how this video is going to sound, how it's all come across. I've literally just blurted out whatever that was not even on top of my mind, just whatever that just came out. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. And tomorrow I'm just going to crack on with whatever I have had already planned to do in terms of at home because it's technically my day off. And then Friday, I go into the office to work my last day. And then I hand back all my stuff. And that's it. They literally said that normally you have a week notice, but because I work part time, they said like they will pay me off for the last 2 days. Um, and yeah, and that's that. I think a part of me is a bit like sad that I don't know, not that I was expecting a send off, but like there's a lack of also acknowledgement. Like it's very bloop, okay, that's it. But also knowing that I was on probation. Um, like this was bound to happen. But I think, you spent a long time at a certain place, gone through a lot of emotions, ups, downs, and also in terms of yourself, like I'm grateful because I feel like I was exactly where I needed to be during the hardest periods of my life, and now I feel stronger and more equipped. So I'm ready to fly my wings. Fly my wings? Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct to say. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to fly.